Hey, I'm Grant. This is a simple tutorial on how to actually export a sequence or edit from Lightworks. As a note, this is version 14 and I am using the flexible layout. Yours may look different if you use the non-flexible, but it's going to be the same process, just the buttons might be in a different order. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up my current project contents, go to my sequences, and here I have the same edit from the last tutorials I did. Close that down. And we want to export this. So the first thing is to make sure that this is outlined in red or you have this record section marked. What this does is it tells Lightworks what the current edit I'm working on is. So this treats it as, say, if I click, say, insert on some other clip, it's going to insert it into the record clip. And what I do when I click export is it's going to export the same one. So here I just come down here to export. There's several different ways to get here. If you actually go into your project contents, you can export it from there. So say if you wanted to do several at a time, you would do it from the bin, because I could say, so if that was an actual edit, I could come in here, tell it to export and do the same settings, and then I could say export 6 at a time instead of just 1. But it's very simple. I'm going to come in here and hit export. I will note that this is on the paid version of Lightworks, so if you are using the free version, you can still follow this, but you will have fewer options. So the main one I personally use is just the basic YouTube export. This spits out a nice MP4 file that's good for YouTube. It's good for sharing on the internet. It's not too big. It does probably compress a little bit, but this is the nice simple one. And if you can get this, that's when you can start experimenting with more things to see if there's a better format for you. So I'll just usually come in, click YouTube, and I cover a lot of this more in the first video in the series where I just explain my workflow going from point A to point B on one whole video. I'll go into a lot of these settings, but for right now I'm just going to describe this YouTube one. So first one is frame rate. I'm going to do 30 FPS because that's what this footage was shot at. Very simple. You can go up or lower if you have need to. Size is 1080p. This is the resolution. Again, this was shot on a 1080p monitor using OBS, so it's 1080p. You can go down or you can go up if you have higher footage, or if for some reason you want to compress, like to get a smaller file. You can do so there. We have the region. This is a couple different ways to go about it. So generally speaking, you'll want ignore leading and trailing black. This is telling out of this entire edit, what do you want to actually export from it? So what our options are mark section. So I can come and say, I want it to export just from here, where I have a blue cursor, to just here. That will do just that small section. It won't do the full thing. Your other options are whole sequence, where it will go literally from the very beginning to the very end. That's pretty good, and you think you'd want to do that all the time, but I would actually recommend doing ignore leading and trailing black. What this does is you might have edit black somewhere in your footage. So say if I come over here and just cut out this, I know that I only actually want from here all the way over to here, and I might forget. So say if I cut that and I zoom in because I want to, let's say, just correct this so it goes all the way. I don't actually know what it's going to do. I haven't checked this effect, but I just want to drag that right there for whatever reason. I might not remember that there's trailing black, and if I go and hit export, you might find out, for example, that you made a 2-minute video, but it's 15 minutes long or an hour long because there was trailing black, and you told it to export that, which sometimes you do want. So I recommend ignore leading and trailing black. It's just a nice little helpful check that if you did forget something, it's going to cut it off. So do that. You have options here if you want to upload it straight to YouTube. I know this is actually probably more popular with the free version. I don't personally do this because I like to see locally what it looks like when it came out, but if you have a reason why you want to go straight there, this is a useful option, especially if you queue up multiple videos. So say if you want to export 10 and then you want to be able to go to bed or something, it will export all 10, upload all 10, queue them with the settings you want, and then they'll just be ready to go in the morning. Finally, we have our destination. So I'm just going to go series, the tutorial I'm working on. Let's just put it right in here. And then if you want to, you can name it something separate, but by default, it's going to come out to be the same thing as your edit is named. So this might be like, say, you might want to be like test export number 1, test export number 2. And then once you know it's completely good, maybe you'll do some extra settings and then do like the final one with the full name, however you want. Then you just hit start and it should start going pretty quickly. It will pop up this loading screen on the top left. You are actually free to keep working in Lightworks while you do that, but depending on how resource intensive it is, it may be fairly laggy until that finishes. It will also show you if it's freezes or if you want to cancel it. Like say if you actually did forget to do the trailing black option and you realize that your 2-minute video is clearly way too big, you can cancel it, fix it, start over. Once it's done, it conveniently pops this up right here and I can just click it and it will actually take it to that video file and then I can actually view it. Very, very easy. This is something that if this doesn't work, it probably implies a greater issue with your source files or with your setup of your entire project. It's probably not an issue with the export. Now, if you're more advanced, you can go in and get into some of the crazier stuff. Like if I say want to export just the audio, I can do a .wav file and I can give these options. So say I want to come in and I want to export just my audio track for whatever reason. I want to do a voiceover and I just want the voiceover track. I can do it as a .wav. If you have, say, some reason to backup, there's options for that. If you want to send this actual edit to someone else using Lightworks, there's that option. If you want to have something that is a lossless format because you want to send it to someone so they can work on it, but this isn't the final product, you can do that. These all have just different options that are useful, but generally speaking, if you are new to Lightworks, you're going to want to stick to just the YouTube option. And then in theory, if you did everything correctly, your actual edit's done. So if you can get this working with the YouTube option, you can just come back in, reload it, hit a different one, re-export. It's very simple. This should be everything you need for just a very simple little export for while you're learning Lightworks. Hopefully this tutorial helped you. My contact info is on screen for more help or other tutorial suggestions. A like or subscribe is a great way to help make more of these tutorials happen, and I hope to see you around the channel.